Tripping. Tripping with Peabody.
Come on, Dre.
Yo, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Tripping with Theo Bold. I'm your host, Andre Theo Bold. Welcome to the show. Glad you guys could tune in. Welcome to the show. Got a doozy of an episode for y'all, man. Yeah, man. So here's what I'm tripping on today, man. Today, here's the thing I'm tripping on, man. I used to think that I needed 4 years of college, but it turns out I only needed one semester. Man. And most of what I needed or what I learned when I was in college happened in one building, right? And that was Peabody Hall. And they demolished it, man. It's gone, yo. Peabody Hall is gone. What's going on with my hat? Here we go. Peabody Hall is gone. So that's what we're gonna talk about today, man. We're gonna reminisce on good old Peabody Hall, and what I learned during that time frame. Let me just make sure my audio and everything is straight. Okay, I'm good there. All right. Gotta make sure you have everything down. Let me also see if I can get my chat added in here. My chat. Thought I had a chat. My chat was supposed to be up in here somewhere. Give me 2 seconds. Oh no, it's here. I got it. Kind of just gotta go back and forth. But anyways, we here, man. That's what we talking about today, man. Good old Peabody Hall, man. So let me just go ahead and just walk you through it, man. So here's the thing, right? It's situated. Here we go. All right, so yeah, let's just go and get into it, man. Peabody Hall, right? Gone, demolished, right? So when I first was getting ready to go to college, man, I was like super excited, man. Like the way it felt like, man, is it felt like it was like you remember how it was when you were like going to an amusement park, like say like King's Dominion or wherever you went to an amusement park at, and you had that long build up. It was like it took forever to get into the amusement park, and you're sitting outside and you're just waiting to get in, and it seems like it just takes forever. Like that's how it was. When I first got dropped off at Temple, right? It was me, my mom, my dad, and E. My dad was driving. Me and E were in the back seat. Um, and yeah, it was interesting moving in. You know, I remember when I first moved in. Hold on a second. Let me just check one last thing. I'm sorry for being a pain, but last week I had a ring in my audio, and I got it out, and somehow it got reintroduced right before I started streaming. Isn't it crazy? Like once you get situated and right before you start streaming, that's when all the bullshit happened. Yeah, let me just go ahead and make sure my audio is sounding okay. Give me a second, because I was monitoring the sound and everything, and then that's when I got the ring back in, and then took out my headphones, and then the ring disappeared. I just want to make sure I'm good, because I don't like my audio quality not being good. You know what I mean? Just hear what I sound like. Uh-oh. I don't hear any audio. Uh-oh. Peabody. So, just So I think I'm good, man. Because like it's a pain in the ass because it's like, when you put the work in and effort in and then you go back and listen to it, all of a sudden you can't hear the ring and then all of a sudden the ring is in there and it's like I just want to make sure I'm producing quality work here. You pay for what you get. All right, so here we go. Temple University, moving in. Okay, boom. All right, so like yeah, it's me, my dad, my mom, and E, and the white Jeep Grand Cherokee, man, and um, yeah, we it was a long, I don't know what it was, but that ride felt like it was a 5 hour drive or a 6 hour drive when really it probably was only like two. But it was just the anticipation of like starting college, that was a big deal. Um, so I remember as I was moving in, it's like everything just kind of was like magically happening, you know? Like everything just was like magically happening. I remember um as I was moving in, um, I ran into this girl I had a crush on in the 8th grade, right? Like this was crazy, you know what I'm saying? Because I went to school with this chick back in 8th grade, had a crush on her, and then what happened? When I was in high school, like we went to different high schools and stuff or whatever. So I knew friends that went to high school with her, and I was like, yo, um, I was like, hey, tell. I was like every day I came home from school, I'd be like, hey man, tell so and so, man, hey man, give her my number and tell her I said to give me a call, you know, or I said, or better yet, get her number and give it to me and tell her I'll call her. I was on that, you know, like that's what I was on, man. And I remember every day I would come home from school, I'll call my friends up and I'd be like, hey man, did you get her number? Did you see her? Oh yeah, man, I saw her, man, but hey man, I forgot, man, to ask her. So it was that kind of shit going on, right? And when I was in high school, I ran summer track and I saw her at a summer track meet. And if you don't know anything about Maryland, like track and field, right, or summer track, right, you got like 5 track clubs, right? And the one major track club is Glenarden Track Club, man. It's like an army of niggas. Like 98% of the track meets were like Glenarden. They wore the yellow and the blue. And they just came out of nowhere. And they had all the fast people on their team. And then you had like Hummingbird Track Club, and then you had New Wave Track Club, Firebirds Track Club. I was part of Heat Track Club. So I'm at this track meet, and um I see this girl I had a crush on for like the first time, like since 8th grade. This is high school. She's like, Andre. I was like, hey, what's going on? So in my mind, I'm like, yo, man, I gotta win this race so I can, work up. I said in my mind, I was like, look, I'm gonna win this race and I'm gonna go up to her and I'm gonna get her number, you know, and boom, happy ending, happily ever after, right? So I'm at this track meet, and there's this so I have to run against this dude, and I don't know him at the time, and this dude's name is Rob Wingate, right? Light skinned dude, about my size, same height, but maybe like a little like more swole. And we ran a 200-meter dash. I was in lane 5, he was in lane 4, and man, this motherfucker was fast, man. Like, this dude took 2 steps and was down the straightaway. Like he ran like 20 point something to like my 23 and some change, which is bad, which is getting smoked. And he wasn't like, he didn't have like high turnover rate, but he just was like, he just had like, it looked like he was jumping down the track. That's how fast, like he was just so fast, man. So after the race, I went up to try to go and holler at this chick I had a crush on since 8th grade, and she was on the bleachers, right? And as I got closer to walk up towards her, there Rob Wingate was on the bleachers. Man had his shirt off, bare chest, and just rapping the this chick I had a crush on. So I was like, man, I was like, yeah, I can't ask her for a number now, yo, after getting cooked. And this is the dude I got cooked by. But anyways, I get to Peabody Hall, and as I'm moving in, like, cause I was on 3 long, she was on like 2 short, I think. And as I'm carrying my stuff upstairs to my room, all I hear is Andre, and I look down. And I'm like, so and so, and then she looked at me with this look where it was a blank look, and I was like, yeah, things are coming around. I'm like, yeah. So I'm thinking, man, this is gonna be an amazing college experience, amazing. Like, I'm right where I need to be. Like everything was lining up perfectly, man. Um, but uh, then what happened, man? So yeah, as I'm moving my stuff into my dorm, I'm excited, man, unpacking my stuff, and out of nowhere, I just hear this. I hear this DMX song. It's like one of my favorite. I forgot the song it was, but at the time, it was one of my favorite DMX songs. And when I heard this song coming from down the hallway, man, I like I like sprinted down this hallway so fast, man, and I went into the room where the music was coming from. I started just acting crazy, and there was a dude in there brushing his hair, and he had waves. He's brushing his hair in his mirror, and he just cuts his eyes over at me and just starts laughing. He just kind of starts like smiling and shit, and he's brushing his hair, and that was Kenyatta, right? Um, like that was like one of the cornerstone. I would say that's one of the stepping stone uh friendships that I had when I was in school. Like our paths were meant to cross. You know, he was an upperclassman, and he uh basically was like my mentor, man. Like unofficial mentor, that is. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, now, man. So then after that happened, I ran back to my room and I finished unpacking my stuff. My mom and dad and they all leave, and then we have to go to do this orientation with our RA, and our RA's name was Rashid Waleed. I think it was Rashid Waleed. I think that was his name. AKA Good Hair, right, man? We called him Good Hair because man, we called him Good Hair because when he had a haircut, when he had his lineup and his haircut was crisp, he was always happy and smiling and cheesing. But when his hair grew back in and it was all like fuzzy and stuff, he looked like he just looked upset. He looked mad. So hence the name Good Hair. But anyways, our RA, basically we did orientation in another building, and he was man, he was giving out. He basically had a roll of toilet paper, and he passed it around the room. It was like, everyone take what you need and pass it around the room. So we're thinking, yo, since this is a shared dorm, you know, we gotta have our own toilet paper. I didn't pack any toilet paper like that. You know what I'm saying? So people were just trying to get as many rolls as they could. They're trying to get as much as they could or whatever. Um, but that wasn't the point, right? It was a game he was playing, and the game was, for every square of toilet paper that you had to tell like the room something about yourself, you know? So I forgot what I said about myself, but I remember like just being it was like just a room of our wing just introducing ourselves to each other, man. And it was fun. So if you don't know anything about Peabody Hall was shaped like a L, right? Like a capital L, right? So just imagine an L, and if you were on the long side of the L, that was the long side. If you were on the short side, that was the short side, right? So I was a proud member of 3 long, aka 3L, right? And you had like 2 short, 1 short, or 1 long. That's just how the dorm was like named or whatever. So, anyways, trying to think what to tell next, man. So let me get into my roommate, man. So my roommate, his name was Steve, and Steve was a white dude, man, and Steve was something, man. Um, so here's the thing about Steve, man. Steve had like no facial hair, man, like none, but he had an electric shaver, and every night before going to bed, he would shave his face for about 30 minutes. And then he'd get up in the morning. First thing you do is shave. All you hear is, and he had no facial hair, like none. And I used to give him shit about it. I'd be like, man, what the hell you shaving, man? You ain't got no hair on your face. He'd be like, man, shut up. And then he sit there shaving nothing. Right. And then and Steve, I think he was from Scranton, I think he was from Scranton, Pennsylvania. Like real quiet and man, goofy as hell, man. Like I remember so his whole thing was he wanted to get his bench press up, you know, because he was like benching maybe like 290, 300 or whatever. Uh and he had like this, it was like a super compression shirt where it was supposed to help you get like more weight up, right, on the bench press. So he'd have some of his friends come over and it'd be like two of his friends and they'd help him get into the shirt. It took two people to put the shirt on him, and then he would go to the gym and like he'd walk out and go to the gym. And I swear he would go to the gym and just do one max rep, get it up, or go to the gym, do one max rep, and that was it. And then he'd come back, he'd come back to his room and his friends help him take his shirt, take that shirt off. It took him like 30 minutes to get that shirt on. He had about a 10-minute walk to get to the gym. And he'd do all that for one rep. Come back, walk 10 minutes back, and have his friends call his friends up, and they come over and they help him get his shirt off. Man, hilarious, man. What else, man? uh so that was Steve, man. And then and crazy, man, like Steve is actually doing like well for himself now. Like he's a professor. He got his doctorate in like orthopedic surgery or orthopedic medicine or whatever. And man, he's a doctor. He's a professor. I looked him up. I was like, wow. And when he first started school, man, it was like he wasn't really into the books, man. He would just come in, like I said, go to the gym, get that one weight lift bench up, and then you know, shave his little face with no hair. And then he had like a video game. He had a video game console with the same game, and he'd come in and play his game. And then he'd have his school books and just be like, yeah, like school's not really for him. And like he wasn't really enthused about school, but as time went on, like he became a professor, man. So shout out to Steve, man. But anyways, so that was Steve. Steve was my roommate. Um, and then also one last thing about Steve was Steve would what would he do? He would, so since he lived in Scranton, Pennsylvania, which is like pretty close by, he would go home for the weekend. So he was like, yeah, dude, you know, I live back home and I want to be back home around my friends. So, you know, Friday through Sunday, you know, hey, I'm not gonna be here. So the room is yours. So it's kind of like for the weekend I had like the room, I had the whole room to myself, you know. So that was Steve. Um, and I told you about Kenyatta a little bit, right? But here's the thing about Kenyatta, man. So Kenyatta, I learned like three important life lessons from Kenyatta, man. Like Yacht taught me like three lessons, man, that I probably wouldn't have got anywhere else, man. You know, and the three things I learned from Yacht was number one, gotta live life for yourself, man. You can't live for other people, including your parents. I learned women choose who they want to choose, whether you like it or not. And I learned that it's the third thing I learned. And the third thing I learned um is women are crafty, you know? They like not all women are crafty, but like a lot of women, you know, uh run game and they run games on you, you know? Um and that doesn't sound like a lot, but when so yeah, I think I'm coming out of high school, you know, came from like a religious academy. So A lot of y'all probably knew this already, but I didn't know the shit. You know what I'm saying? And then throughout life, I was like, man, that's like 90% of like what I needed to like know for life. You know, maybe that's a stretch. More like 75% of what I needed to know for life. You know what I mean? Anyways, let me just go and start with some Kenya. I got like some stories to support, you know, those statements, man. So first story, let's get with the first one, right? So Kenyatta worked in the bookstore, and um, my folks wanted me to go to medical school. I wanted to do engineering, right? And I wanted to play on the football team. I wanted to do all these things, man, right? And then like one time I basically went to the bookstore and I had to get these books for engineering and for like pre-med, right? Because pre-med isn't a major, it's just a set of classes that you have to take in order to be eligible for the MCAT. So my folks were like pressing me to go to medical school, and you know, um, I was trying to do engineering. I was trying to make the football team, so I'm like stressed out. So I go to the bookstore and I see Kenyatta, and Kenyatta can like he can like see what's on, like he can read my face, right? And he'd be like, "Man, what's wrong, Dre?" Like that's how Yacht would talk. He'd be like, "Man, what's wrong, Dre?" You know, and Yacht was like, I was like, "Man, stressed out, man. I gotta get these organic chem books for pre-med, and I want to do engineering, and I'm just, I'm being pulled in different directions or whatever." And then Yacht just like said the realest shit that I probably ever heard, man. He's like, "Look, Dre," he's like, "Man, life, you gotta live life for you. You can't live life for nobody else. You know what I'm saying? Like, not like you gotta live life for yourself. You can't live for your parents. You can't live for nobody else. This is your life." He said, "Look, but if you want to go to medical school, go to medical school. If you want to do engineering. But if I were you, I would just say, fuck all that shit and do comedy." And to this day, like those words like give me chills, man, because you know he's the one that got me on stage to even attempt stand-up comedy, and I saw what was possible. So to this day I still get the chills from that, man. But that's like one of the major things that I learned, when I was there. Fall semester, freshman year. Like I said, I didn't need 4 or 5 years of college, man. Really, all I really needed was fall semester, freshman year, and senior design class, which basically lasted fall and spring semester of your senior year, right? That's all I needed. I only really needed 3 semesters of school, you know, 3 semesters, right? I'll probably do another episode on um on engineering senior design, because that's a whole nother topic in and of itself. But that's one lesson I learned from Yada. Then another Kenyatta story was yeah, I gotta do this one next. So basically here's what happened, man. So Kenyatta was like Mr. Temple. Like literally. He was like the king of Temple or whatever for like 2 or 3 years in a row. He was how do you put it? How do you say it? He was yeah, he was like Mr. Temple. Like it was like a pageant they had every year, and he always like would like win the contest, and he looked like Usher, you know, he could dance, you know what I'm saying? He was an athlete, star athlete, played on the football team, you know, so there wasn't a chick on campus that he couldn't get. Like Yacht was that dude on campus. You know what I mean? Um and um his girl at the time, man, was tough, man. Like she was bad. Not only was she bad, she was nice. You know what I'm saying? Like she was like very like nurturing, you know? Um and whenever me and Yacht would go hang out on campus or whatever, you know, he would just pick up all these chicks, man. he had his pick of the litter, man. And I would see him like hollering at one chick or whatever, and I'd be like, nah, I'd be like, so once he got done hollering at a chick, or once a chick came to him, I'd be like, yo, Yada, man, what's up, man? I mean, I was a square back then. I mean, I'm kind of a square still, but I was really a square back then. I'd be like, yeah, man, yo, man. I'm like, man, you got so and so, man. Nah, man, you gotta, nah, man, you don't want to lose that, man. Like, come on, man. Like, I was like giving him like pep talks. I'm like, yo, man, like, no, man, you got a good thing, man. Why are you messing with her? You know? And then Yacht would just have this little laugh, this little, he'd be like, Dre, man, you have a lot to learn, man. You have a lot to learn, you know? And basically what I learned in real time was that women do the choosing, you know? Like, no matter, it was like, no matter what, it was like, no matter how bad, no matter what kind of wrong he did, you know, he could always get her back, man. And that joint was crazy, man. You know, it was sad and crazy at the same time, but it was also, that's how life is. That's life, you know? Um, but I remember one time in particular, you know, this leads into the third lesson I learned from Kenyatta was so Yada, like I said, Yacht was like the man on campus, you know what I'm saying? And not only was he the man on campus, he was the man in the city because I think he was from Philly. I think he's from Philly. And like he knew all the strippers all over, like he knew all the big names out in Philly. So he knew all the strippers and everybody, right? So he had this thing he would do. It was called he would throw these Wu Tang at parties, right? And we had this dance. It was Wu Tang it, Wu Tang it, Wu Tang it, Wu. Okay, I'll tell you where the dance came from in a second, man. But anyways, um, so what he would do is he knew male strippers, so he would get male strippers to strip for the females at a female party at on campus. And then he knew female strippers that he would get to strip for like the dudes or whatever and stuff, right? And then he would have a videographer. You know, I was like basically I was tech, like basically I was the one that made the posters and the tickets or whatever. And then we had Mike G's, right? Mike G's would actually put the money up to get the venue. And we had like a little mini operation, right? And then from the videographer, he would like chop up all the videos, you know, and that became the promo for the parties, right? So all the chicks back during when we went to Temple, man, they were all at the Wu Tang at parties, man. You know, and then in the video, one of the dudes, like per the video, like he had this dance. It was called Wu Tang it, you know, and he would do this dance, and it's like this whole little chant. It was this shit was stupid, yo. It'd be like showing what you work it with, showing what you work it with, Wu Tang it, Wu, and then all. So that's why they were called Wu Tang at parties or whatever, you know. But anyways, um, Yada, um, it was Myron's birthday. We had this guy in our. It was a guy that was a friend with Tat, and his name was Myron. And for Myron's birthday, Yacht went out, you know, and got a female stripper or whatever, and he brought her back to my room, right? Because it was the weekend, and my roommate Steve is gone for the weekend, right? So it was me, Yada, and Myron, and the stripper, right? And and the stripper gives us all lap dances or whatever, right? And then, you know, since I'm like the freshman, I'm the youngin, right? Like Myron and Yada, Myron, Yacht, and the stripper go to Yada's room down the hall, right? You know what I'm saying? I can't speak on what happened down there, but all I know is, you know, my room was used for like, you know, the pregame festivities or whatever, right? So, but Yacht gave me very clear instructions. He said, look, Dre, he said, Dre, in the morning when you get up, you know, since you have an early class, because I was a nerd and shit, I would get up and go to class. I had an early class or whatever. I had an early schedule. Yacht was like, yo, Dre, man, get up early first thing in the morning, and I'm gonna need you to come knock on my door and make sure Myron and the stripper are out of my room, right? They got to be gone. I was like, all right, so got you, right? So I get up in the morning, I'm banging on the door, I'm banging, you know, and no one answered the door. So I'm thinking, okay, they already got up and they left. So I come back from my first class, and on my way back to Peabody Hall, as I'm going upstairs, I'm seeing Myron and the stripper leave. So I'm like, oh shit, like what's going on, man? Uh so I get back to my room, and then Yacht calls my phone. I pick up. I'm like, yo, what's going on, man? He was like, yo, did Myron and the stripper leave? I was like, yeah, I just saw him leave, man. I was banging on their door this morning, and they I guess they didn't hear me knocking, but when I came back from class, I saw him on the way out, and he was like, okay, good. Nigga, right when I hung the phone up, Yacht's girl is in the doorway, and she heard the whole thing. I can still see it in my mind, man, because I'm like, I can still see her standing in the doorway. She was like, Andre, was that Yada? I was like, no, no. I'm trying to lie. And then she's had this look on her face like, man, whatever, and she knew that was, or she said, she asked me if that was Yada on the phone, and she asked me if the stripper just left his room. And I was like, no, no. And I couldn't lie for shit, you know? Um, and then she had this look on her face where she just knew, like, it is what it is, yo. And I was like, wow. So that was the third lesson I learned, man. It's like she still kept messing with him, still was in a relationship with him, still kept dealing with him. That was interesting, you know? Um, but anyways, I learned those three things. And then that brings us to Tat. So this episode, man, shout out to Tat, man. Tat, this episode is happening in large part due to Tat, right? Because my man Tat tuned in to my pod, or tuned in last week to the live stream, and when I was like telling all these like different like funny stories or things that I found funny, and he wanted me to do the story about Bert, right? And the stream that I did was about things that I found funny at the time it was happening, right? So the story about Bert, I'm gonna save that for the end, so you got to stick around. But the story about Bert, like, that wasn't funny to me at the time, right? I was pretty heated, right? So that's coming, that's coming down, that's coming at the end of this episode, right? So stick around, I'm gonna get to that. But let's get on Tat, right? Tat lived across from Kenyatta in Three Long, and he's this tall, just think tall New Yorker, right? Got wavy hair. I mean, his hair was always like, he always had waves, man, like those real crazy waves, man. And Tat was silly, man. I mean, Tat could hoop. You know what I'm saying? Tat was like Tat played basketball or whatever. But man, Tat would always call everybody B, and he always did this hand gesture. He'd be like, B, B. Like, man, who the fuck is B? Like, B. Right? He just called everyone B, right? So, anyways, um, where was I going? Yeah, Tat, right? So Tat, Myron, and what was it? It was Tat, Myron, and Yada, right? Those were the guys that I kind of like hung with and like rolled with or whatever. So what happened, man? So Myron and Tat, man, like, so Myron, I definitely pissed Myron off when I was like younger, when I was a freshman, right? Because in my room, like, I had soap and like my lotion on the counter or whatever, and because we had a shared dorm where we had to like, it wasn't like the showers and the bathroom were not in our rooms. We had to like, it was like a shared space, right? So we had to keep our stuff kind of like on our little mini dresser in our room. So I had my lotion and my hand soap out because I couldn't put it anywhere else. Man, and these niggas, Tat and Myron, every time they came in my room, yo, these niggas would squirt some lotion in my hand and then ask for the shit. You know? It'd be like, they'd be like, hey, yo, Dre, is it okay if I get some lotion? And I let it slide for a while, but then I got to the point where I was like I just snapped one day. I was like, man, why the fuck is y'all asking? I'm like, why are y'all? I'm like, why are y'all even asking? Like, why do you care? You know, it's like by the time you put the lotion and the soap in your hands, if I say no, what you gonna do? Put it back? So I snapped on him on Myron that one day, and then yeah, I mean, we're cool now, I guess. But I mean, back then it was like for a long time, I didn't realize that that pissed him off like that or whatever. But anyways, yeah, Myron, yeah, Tat, and I forgot this one part, man. So first day moving into college, right? First day when we moved in, uh, first day when we moved in, man, I remember this like it was yesterday. Like everyone in Three Long, we all got together in someone, I forgot whose room we were in, but we all got in this room and everybody was trying to figure out how to smash, right? How do you get the chicks? How do you smash, right? And it was like a multi-level marketing meeting kind of setup, you know, like basically you had all these dudes and you had one quote unquote expert that knew how to smash, right? Like he knew how to get the girls. He said, "Look, here's what you do." I kid you not. This is it's the honest to God truth, man. We're all in the room, huddled around. This dude said, "Look, if you want to smash, here's how you get it done in college." He said, "Look, first thing you do is you invite a chick over to watch a movie because he said watching a movie is code for smashing." Then he said, "You come over to watch a movie." He said, "Just pull your shit out and see what happened." He said, "Yeah, just pull your shit out, see what happened." He said, "If she get up and leave, she ain't with it. Like, don't do that again with her. Just you good, right? But if she stick around for whatever reason, if she stick around, you gonna smash." And I thought to myself, man, that was the dumbest shit I ever heard, man. I'm like, I ain't doing that shit, right? I'm like, you said it like me, like knowing my luck, if I did that shit, right? Like knowing my luck, if I did that shit, like my shit would be soft, you know. And then now I got chicks running around campus talking about, you know, uh, Dre got a little shrimp dick. You know what I'm saying? Nah, I ain't doing that. So I was like, yeah, nah, I ain't doing that dumb shit. So I learned like that was like that's a Me Too shit, right? So I learned like way before Me Too came out, man, don't do that dumbass shit. So I learned all this in little old Peabody Hall, right? Let's take a look at some photos right quick, man. Um, like I said, I'm disappointed, man, that actually I'm hurt that my building is gone because that's the building that I have like all my memories in. You know, so let me go ahead and pull it up right quick. So where's where are we at? There we go. So boom. Uh oh. Okay, nothing there. Why isn't it coming up? Why isn't it coming up? Okay, screen record. Oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. What's going on? Okay, here we go. I had everything all set up, and now got this. I don't think that's gonna do it. Nope. Cancel. Do it yourself productions. We over here doing it ourselves. Okay, let me try this again. Just getting real. Let's see. Here we go. That. There we go. I had everything set up, ready to rock and roll. And okay, connected. Wow. Oh, here we go. This thing not showing. What the hell? Oh man, I had this thing all set up, ready to go, man. And of course, this thing here has a mind of its own. Let me take that off. Bear with me, man. You guys appreciate you guys being patient. I see people popping in and popping out. I'm trying to get my screen to show up. So there we go. Now we're cooking. There we go. Boom. So these are some pictures, right? So this is Peabody Hall, right? This is like the exact day, or this is what it looked like exactly the day when I moved in, man. Look just like this. Um, and then this is an old school photo of it. Uh, the background to the right, you see 1940. And when I moved in, 1940 was still being built. Like the building was pretty much done, but they were still finishing some parts of the construction. Um, and then this is crazy, yo. So this is like, I think they said Peabody Hall opened up in 1957, and this is what it looked like in Peabody Hall. And I swear, man, this looks like, I mean, all the rooms look the same, but this looked just like my room, right? This looks exactly like my room. Steve was on this side of the room, and my side of the room was like the other side, you know. Um, and man, it's crazy, man. And now look at this shit, man. Well, it's not there anymore, but this was like when they started to like demolish it, you know. So, man, all the memories gone, man. You know. And here's the thing, man. Like, here's the thing, right? So when I was when I graduated from Temple, right? Like I was like, I used to do like so when I was a student, I used to go to the college basketball games, man. We had a dope team when I went there. When I went there, our team was dope, man. We had Pepe Sanchez, Ron Rollerson, Lamont Barnes, Quincy Wadley. Um, we had Lynn Greer coming off the bench, man. Like that was a deep squad, man. We should have won the chip that one year if it weren't for Seton Hall and Ty Shine. Who the fuck is Ty Shine? Ty Shine came out and just was dropping threes on us. Um anyways, so when I used to sit up in the student section, I was like, man, one day when I get a job, I'm doing well for myself, I'm gonna sit down in the big boy seats and I'm gonna sit down there like the alma maters and I'm gonna pay good money. I'm gonna sit front, watch my team, and be an alma mater, right? So, man, I remember like in 2008 when I came back to visit, where I came back to visit, went to a basketball game, and I went to the bookstore and I bought all this shit, man. I bought like polo shirts, man, hats, hoodies, t-shirts. I bought the little number one sign. I bought all that bullshit. And I mean, I'm at the game sitting in the big boy seats in the alma mater section or whatever, like down low, almost like on the court. Like I had good seats over there in the Leah Core Center. And I remember I bought these like French fries, bought all this food. I'm eating all this food and shit. Man, soon as the game was about to be over, something said, Dre, hey man, use the bathroom before you go. Just make sure you go to the bathroom before you go. But I said, nah, I'm back home. I'm on campus. I got my student ID. Let me go take a dump in one of these old buildings for old time's sakes, right? Man, I was trying to get into any building I could to go take a dump, man. And my student ID just didn't work no more, man. They were like, nah, you don't go here no more. So I had to go and shit in the hood. So after that, man, I kind of was like, man, I was kind of like, yeah, why am I coming back? It's like, why am I coming back to this campus, right? Like, you know, and then on top of that, to add insult to injury, now Peabody Hall is gone. The building that I had most of my memories in is gone. So it's like, what am I coming back to? Right? I'm still paying back my student loans. Some got some ways to go, you know. Still paying back my student loans, man. And it's like when you come back to visit, it's like you never even went there, you know. But anywho, man, shout out to my man Rashard, man. Rashard Gons, right? He lived on my floor 3 long. I catch up with him every time I come home for the holidays, man. We make it a point to go get something to eat. You know, our spot that we go to, like our go-to spot when I go back home for the holidays, is the Crafty Crab. You know, the Crafty Crab is a crab boil place. Amazing crab boil. But anyways, I mean, he he's like Mr. Temple now. Like he's always like going back and forth to the university, showing me photos of what used to be. I'm like, I don't even if I went back to that campus, I wouldn't even know like I mean, they have some of the buildings there, but you know. So, anyways, long story short is when I go back to Temple, when I go back, I'm going back there because I'm shooting my comedy special there, man. I'm shooting a comedy special, hopefully in the alcove, you know, because the alcove is where I got started at. That was the first time I ever got on stage. Um, so yeah, I mean, we'll see, you know. I mean, maybe, I mean, they might knock that shit down too, you know. And that's the thing about America in general is that we knock down too many buildings. Um, like we knock down buildings too much, man. Like we do all this renovation. Like Vegas has the same problem, right? Vegas is knocking down all of the foundational buildings, you know. Where if you go to Europe, in Europe they keep all their buildings up, and um they basically just keep them up to date. I mean, they don't keep them up to date, but they renovate their buildings, you know, their old buildings. So buildings they had since like the 1400s is still there, you know. But anyways, you know, we'll see what happens. Hopefully the alcove is there by the time I shoot my special, you know. If not, I guess we'll figure something out. Um, but nah, so we talked about that. Matter of fact, while we talking about the alcove, um, let me go back and show you this one. So in this photo right here, let me pull my iPhone back up, right? Right, in this photo right here, right? So the building on the right, like I said before, that's 1940, right? So the thing that's crazy, man, is when Yada was telling me, you know, when Yada told me what he told me in the bookstore, you know, like, you know, if you want to do engineering, do engineering. If you want to do um pre-med, do pre-med. But if I were you, I would say fuck all that and do comedy. Like people that came from like my school during like the time that I went there are like comedy giants right now. Like they're like worldwide known like comics, you know what I'm saying? Um, which is interesting, you know what I mean? So that was the hub of all that, right? So to give you like um just kind of some nostalgia from Peabody Hall. Like so every morning when I would leave Peabody Hall, I would come down the steps that you see on the left, and I would have to cross in front of 1940, right? And in front of 1940, I saw Naeem, Lynn, and Spank Horton. Those two guys were always posted up in front of 1940, like clockwork. You know, they were upperclassmen, but they were posted up like clockwork in front of 1940. And I would always dap up Naeem because I knew him through another friend, but I really didn't know Spank. I really didn't know Spank like that, you know. Um, and then so at like 7:45, 8 o'clock in the morning, Naeem and Spank would be in front of 1940, and I would pass them on my way to class, and I would dap up Naeem, and around noon, in front of the student activity center, Naeem and Spank would be posted up in front of the student activity center. Like those two dudes were like inseparable, man. They were always like at 8 a.m. they were in front of 1940, and then at 12 o'clock noon they were in front of the student activity center. You know what I'm saying? And whenever I saw Naeem around, I would dap him up. He dap me up. You know, like we weren't tight like that, but I just saw him like he was someone that I knew through another friend, through a mutual friend. Um, so yeah, so that's a little bit of history right there for you. Um, the good old days. Hmm, man. See what else, man. Then when I was in Peabody Hall, man, we had these two dudes, man, these two janitor guys, man. We had these two janitor guys. I forgot the bigger dude's name, but the shorter dude's name was Raheem. And just to give a cartoon caricature picture of of, or to give a visual representation of what I'm describing, there was you guys remember the Bugs Bunny cartoon? Well, duh, who doesn't remember Bugs Bunny? But in the Bugs Bunny cartoons, you had these two mobsters. It was like Rocky and I forgot the other guy's name, right? So that was Raheem and this other dude, and they were like the people that took care of Peabody Hall. They were like the custodians of Peabody Hall. And Raheem is the first person I ever heard use the word yams, right? This is back in 99. Okay. So yeah, there it is. But Raheem was the first dude that I ever heard use the word yams. And if you don't know what yams is slang for um I don't for vagina, like 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 getting yams, right? It's like smashing, right? Like you want to smash, you want to get yams, right? So Raheem was the first dude I heard use that term, man. Like he would always come back and be like, "Yo, Dre, Thursday, yams." I'm like, "Yams?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm getting some yams on Thursday." And I was like, "Oh, okay, okay." But now Raheem was cool, man. Raheem and the other dude, uh, like they they would always like look after me, man. I remember he's like, "Yo, Dre, man, anything you need, man, let me know, man. Cause a lot of these little student mattresses, they pissy or they done been fucked on by all the freshmen and shit. If you want, man, I'll get you a brand new clean mattress, man. A lot of these people that's living up here in the dorms don't even realize, man, that they sleeping on mattresses that's been fucked on by everybody, man. But for you, I'll make sure you get a clean mattress, okay? I got you, man." I was like, "All right, man." Yeah, but now Raheem, man, was funny, man. You know. So, and then another friend of mine that I'm still friends with to this day, my man Cedric. My man Ced lived like a few doors down from me on 3 Long. And Ced, man, oh man. I remember like when Ced uh this shit is stupid. I remember, man, when Ced brought back the homework he had to do because he was taking math, right? Like they made us take placement tests when we got to the university, and then you place into whatever math you placed in. And Ced was in this math class, and I remember I came home one day from class, man, and Ced was heated, man. Ced just was like he was like beside himself, man. He was like, "Yo, yo!" He was just shouting. He was like, "Yo, yo!" I'm like, "Man, what's going on, man?" I'm like, "Yo, what's up?" He's like, "Man, take a look at this shit. Take a look at my math homework, right?" And he handed me his math homework. That shit looked like some third grade, second grade homework, man. Like they asking niggas about fractions and if you cut the pie into 1/5 or the fifth and take away 2/5, how much of the pie is left, right? Them kind of questions, right? And counting beads and shit. Sam was like, "Man, I can't believe this shit. Paying all this money for this remedial math." He said, "Nigga, remedial math." And he was like, "Nigga, remedial math. Man, look at this shit. Man, fuck out of here. I ain't doing this shit, man." He's like, "Man, I did this shit in third grade already." But that's what our school was doing, man. Our school was hustling people, man. Like our school, like I remember signing up for all these courses, and you had core classes, and then you had like your major classes, and they made you take all this fluff, and you paying for all this fluff. So when you're paying for all this fluff, you got to think if you're using student loans for that, you paying interest on fluff on top of fluff. So yeah, at that moment, right then and there, me and Said realized that he was being hustled, or he got the game. Um, and shout out to this one brother, man. There's one dude that lived on our floor on 3 Long. His name was Jason. Jason was cool, man. I remember him very like Jason kind of had this like Jay-Z aura to him. Like he kind of reminded you of like he didn't look like Jay-Z, but he had this aura of Jay-Z, you know what I'm saying? Where he just kind of had like I can't explain it, man. But if you can see this dude and how he move, you be like, man, this dude kind of reminds you of Jay Z a little bit, you know. Not current Jay Z, but old Jay Z. You know, when he was young. But anyways, this dude Jason, man, he went to school for. I'm jealous of this dude, man. He went to school for the fall semester and the fall semester alone. That's the only semester he went to. And at the end of the fall semester, he had this look on his face, and he was packing his shit up, like he's getting the fuck out. Like, I'll never forget this day. Like he had a look on his face, like yo, I gotta get the fuck out of here. Like it's like he figured the shit out. He like maybe he didn't, maybe it was like another circumstance, or maybe it was something else. But I think he was connecting the dots and was like, nah, this is let me get the fuck out of here. This is bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So he had just like I wonder where Jason's at today. I wonder what he's doing, man. You know, because the look he had on his face was just he had this look like he figured school out early. He figured out the game. Like we're up here struggling through classes and trying to figure out coursework and trying to pass. He was like, man, fuck all this shit, man. Like, oh man, not for me, right? So he kind of looked like he had everything figured out, you know. Um, but like I said, yeah, I mean, like we learned like everything I learned. Like I'm not gonna say everything I learned, but the majority of what I learned in college, man, I learned like fall semester freshman year, man. Like I just remember like way too much, and like I take these lessons to heart, you know, take them to heart, man. Um, get a sip of water real quick. But yeah, man, talk about good old Peabody Hall, man. Good old Peabody Hall. Trying to think. Oh yeah. So let me do this story, and then I'll get to the Burt story, and then I will conclude. Um, yeah. So on Too Short, there was another like she became an RA. There was one girl. Her name was Shakira, right? Shakira. I don't know how. Look, she's from New York, but she's like a Patriots fan. I don't know how she became a Patriots fan, but Shakira was a upper like she was like a grade or two above me, but um she was like friends with everybody. Like she was cool with like Kenyatta and Kenyatta's girl, and they were all like all tight, you know. So Shakira, um, I remember one day in particular, man. I remember when it was Tat and Shakira, right? And in the there was there was like a mini lounge section, right? Like a little mini student lounge section that joined Three Long and Three Short. And I remember Shakira and Tat, man, they had this debate that started at like 8 o'clock and they went until like 3 o'clock in the morning, yo. I mean, they were debating, right? And I forgot who was debating what, but all I know is that somebody was taking an African American studies class, and the question that was posed is, well, the question that was posed was, which was worse, the Holocaust or um or antebellum slavery? Like which one was worse, right? And they were going back and forth all night, just giving facts or whatever, right? And it got passionate. It was a heated discussion, man. And the conclusion of the conversation was the following. The conclusion of the following was a slave is a fucking slave, right? I'm not saying those are my words, but that was a conclusion of the debate, right? So those were the kind of debates that we would have, or the kind of conversations we'd have in Three Long or in Peabody Hall in general. And you know what's crazy? When I was in Peabody Hall, man, we didn't really do a lot of like partying, man. Like we really didn't go to a lot of temple parties, man, because like the dorm life in Three Long, it was like we were like a family, right? So we would like shoot sketches and stuff, you know, like, you know, yacht. and Myron, like they were doing a lot of the Dave Chappelle sketches before the Dave Chappelle sketches even came out. I'm not saying that they were stolen or robbed, but it's like, great minds think alike. But man, there were so many times where like we planned to go to a party, but we would just be hanging out in the dorm, goofing off, shooting videos, like, you know what I'm saying, doing little sketches, you know. And that's another important lesson I learned, man. Like, you don't need to be out in these clubs. You don't need to be at the parties, man. You can have all the fun that you want to have in your own home. Like, in a nutshell, we were kind of like the Muppet Babies, um, in Peabody Hall. We just find little creative shit to do, and we be in the dorms doing our own thing. You know what I'm saying? But trying to think what else, man. So many more stories, man. I'm not even gonna like go into any more. I'm gonna go ahead and get to the story at hand, right? This is the story that Tat wanted me to tell. Um, when I was talking about things that I find funny, but back when I was doing that episode or that live, um, I was talking about things that made me laugh in the moment, not things that were funny, right? So now this story is me looking back uh on something that happened that is funny, right? So here we go. The story of me and Bert. Can't believe I'm saying this shit, or telling all this shit, but here we go. Um, so when I was young, I had a hernia and I had to go in to get surgery, and um at the time I had a since I was young, I had a Cabbage Patch doll. His Cabbage Patch name was Bert. I mean, his name was I think his name was Tyler, but I called him Bert because he looked like Bert from Sesame Street. So here is what, like, I don't have a picture of Bert, but here's what he did look like. I found a picture on the internet and I was able to find it, right? So Bert looks something like this, or more like that, right? That's Bert, right? So um yeah, so when I was in college, or in when I was young, I had to go in for surgery to get my hernia, right? And Bert was like my when I think I was like 7, right? And I basically brought Bert in to surgery for like good luck, you know? And they even let me like put Bert on the like they even had Bert on the gurney. They gave Bert a little hospital bracelet, you know what I'm saying? So me and Bert been through some shit. You know what I'm saying? So while I was getting ready to leave to go to college, my mom asked me, "Hey, are you gonna bring Bert?" And in my mind, I'm like I wasn't planning on it, but I was like, can't hurt. You know what I'm saying? Can't hurt, because because I didn't have a car then. Because I wasn't driving. I didn't have a car, right? And I was like, look, I don't want to be in a situation where I want something but can't get it because I got to go back, right? So I said, man, I'm going to bring Bert, man. So I packed up Bert to come along with me my freshman year at Temple. So in my room, when you walked in my room, I had a poster of Maya because Maya was like the chick I had a crush on back when I was young. Maya was like Maya was it. You know what I'm saying? Um, and then I had Bert on my bed, right? And I think, I think my mom knew what she was doing, right? My mom knew that Bert was a cock blocker. You know what I'm saying? Like she knew. I think my mom knew that if I bring Bert and leave Bert on my bed, and if chicks come in my room, they gonna think something wrong with me, and then they gonna flee out. And then if they leave, I can focus on my books. I can focus on my studies, right? I think that was the psychological game that my mom was playing, right? So I brought Bert with me to college, and he was on my bed, and you know, um, I'm pretty sure people like ran around and they were like, yo, this nigga got a fucking doll, nigga. Like, what's wrong with this nigga, yo? This nigga got a, he probably talked to that nigga. Like, and I didn't, you know, um, I didn't. But anyways, so one day, um, Bert was minding his own business, right? And when I came back to my room, Bert was gone, right? So I threw a hissy fit, man. I was going around asking people, I was trying to ask people where Bert was, man, and it was embarrassing, man, because when I went to Yacht's room, you know, and I asked him because I was trying to be cool about it, and and then Yacht just started laughing. So I knew that motherfucker did something to Bert, man. I was like, yo, man. I went to Yacht's room. I was like, yo, Yacht, man. I was like, yo, man, have you seen Bert? Have you seen Bert? And then and then Yacht was always brushing his hair. And this motherfucker just laughed in my face, man, and was like, nah, I haven't seen Bert. Why you think I have Bert? I was like, I don't know, because y'all the only ones that really make a big deal about him, you know? And then I went to Tat's room and I was asking Tat, I was like, yo, man, have y'all seen Bert? And Tat was like, nah, man, I don't have him, man. So I started going through so I went back to Yada's room and I'm looking under his bed. I'm looking everywhere to see if I can't find if they hit Bert. And I started snapping. I'm like, yo, man, where the fuck is Bert, man? Like, y'all, yo, where's he at? You know? Then I go back to Tat's room and Tat had this big ass trunk. You know, so I'm like, maybe he put Bert in his trunk. So I'm looking through Tat's trunk. He's like, yo, B. He's like, B, I don't have Bert, B. Don't have him. So I'm like, shit, man, where the fuck is Bert at, man? So they're all like, as I'm looking for Bert, man, they are just laughing their ass off. And I know one of them motherfuckers did like hit him. So here's where Bert ended up being, man. Let me show you where he was, right? Because when I saw this, that's part of the reason why I put this visual up, right? So, um, right. So if you look above the curtain, it's like this like shelf that's like really high up, right? And we didn't really put anything up there like that, right? And they put Bert on top of that joint. So so I looked for like hours trying to find Bert, and he's sitting on top of the windowsill on top of the curtain, yo. And that's the famous Bert story, right? That Tat wanted me to share. So I shared it. Boom. Are you happy now? You happy now? Boom, that's it. I did the story of Bert. Then yeah, man. So like I said, man, after fall semester freshman year in Peabody Hall, man, I don't remember shit. Like I remember flashes of shit, but it was like all the same after that. You know, it was like fall semester freshman year was like brand new. That's where, you know, everything. That's where I got acclimated to college life. You know, but after that, man, I didn't need it. I don't think I needed. I don't think I needed that shit after that, man. I don't think I need anything else after that shit. Like everything I learned fall semester freshman year in the classroom and in Peabody Hall is like 75% of what I need to know when I went to college. And then of course, senior design, engineering senior design project. I'm gonna talk about that either next episode or somewhere down the line. But those two things, that's all I needed, man. 3 semesters. 3 semesters. I only needed 3 semesters of school. I'm on. Of course, I had to do my time to get the paper right, but I'm talking about in just everything that I learned that I use to this day and how I move to this day. I learned those things in 3 semesters, yo. All that stuff in between was just fluff. It was fluff, you know. But So if any of you guys went to Temple, former Temple alum, if you guys stayed in Peabody Hall, man, what are some of your stories, man? Oh, I gotta share this one last story, man, real quick. I know I'm full of stories and I'm being long winded, but you know, I had to make sure I showed, um, make sure I paid homage to the great Peabody Hall, man. Um, so Yacht was always playing jokes, man, always playing pranks with people, man. And Yacht told me, I remember this shit, man. I remember Yacht told me that he told me that Ted Bundy stayed in my room, yo. Like he went to Temple and he stayed in he stayed in Peabody Hall in my room. And he was serious. He had a serious face with it too, man. And I was like looking paranoid, like, yo, nah, stop playing. And um my imagination and my mind just went all over the place after that, man. I was like, yo, I'm like, what do you mean he stayed in my room, yo? Like, what if, the spirit? So I started thinking, like, what if the spirit that was in Ted Bundy was like got in my roommate or some shit? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I was thinking, man. So to this day, I never looked that up. I never researched it. Um, and I'm gonna leave it at that. Um, yeah, man. Freshman year was a wild time, man. It was a wild time, man. Oh man, I'm just now that I'm doing now, I got more memories coming back. I remember um the year before when I graduated from high school, my folks took me to Barbados, right? Well, it was a family, it was posed as a graduation gift, but it's really a family trip, right? We went to Barbados and when I was in Barbados, I met this chick named Louise, you know, and I met her for one day, man, and fell in love, man. She worked on the harbor master, and I got her number. That may have been the first number I ever got. That's what it was. That was the first number I ever got, right? Like outside of school. Like that was the first number I ever got. And then I only like hung out with Louise on the harbor master on that one night when she was working on the harbor master cruise or whatever. Um and then cuz it was I had a there was like another family that was coming to visit. It was this guy named Paul, and he was from I think he was from London, or his family they were from London. And Paul dared me to get her number, and I got her number. And then we never hung out, man. Like we were supposed to, like catch up during the time I was there. And man, when I got back home, I was calling Louise, man, trying to figure out, hey, when she gonna come to the states? When I was at Temple, man, I was trying to call her up to see if she was gonna come, like when she was gonna come to visit. Man, I was trying to get her back, man. I was trying to get Louise back to the states, man. So yeah, I was tripping. Hence the name Tripping with Theo Bowl, because we be tripping not only in speech but in thought. You know, but yeah, if any of you guys stayed in Peabody Hall, man, what are your stories, man? What are some of your memories, man? Should they have torn down Peabody Hall? I think we all know the answer. The answer is no. They should have kept Peabody Hall, man. Peabody Hall wasn't hurting nobody, right? They tore down Peabody Hall. They tore down Curtis Hall, man. I'm just like, yo, like that was like the one. That was like the one glimmer of hope I had to like go back, right? Like if Peabody Hall was still up, I would probably say, hey, is it possible I can like, get like a tour of the dorm again? Cause I just wanted to go back and walk down the hall one last time, man, to see where I stayed at and just, just to jog memories, man, Like I would have did that, but that's gone. Everything around the whole campus is it's a whole new campus, man. So college to me is basically um I don't know, I have like interesting opinions about college in general. To me, I feel like everything is evolving around the university except for the education. You know what I mean? It's like leave the buildings alone, right? If they want to get rid of shit, get rid of the textbooks and let's start using, um, let's start using uh all this internet that we have, all this access to digital data, right? Why are we still fucking with books, right? Anyways, um, I'm done rambling. Thank y'all for tuning in to this episode of Tripping with Theo Bold. AT is where it's at on most forms of social media, so make sure you follow me. And yeah, without further ado, I'm out of here, folks. Peace. Yep. Tripping with Peabody.
Let's go.
Caliente.
Tripping. Yep. Tripping. Tripping. Tripping with Peabody.
Tripping with Peabody.